use like copper pots when you're cooking with chocolate?
Well, copper is, the reason for that is people want to sell you a copper pot, A, and B, it's the most conductive metal equal to the cheapest thing, aluminum. So, there's a couple of, you know, if you're making meringue though, copper has it does something to egg whites, it makes more friction and it will whip up a little faster. So if you want to spend $200 on a copper bowl, do it. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just talk to you about chocolate a little bit. I'm going to show you how to melt it. I'm going to tell you what tempering is and why you need to do that. And I'm going to show you how to mold it and fill it at home. You can do this yourself, really. It's not hard. You just need to know a few little simple things about chocolate, because it is a little bit finicky, and you can mess it up, and then you get frustrated, and you've just spent all this money on chocolate, and you know. And it's a really cool thing to do. You know, it's Valentine's. Chocolates actually has some good health properties that people are saying, you know, it's good for you, with the flavonoids and this and that and the antioxidants. So, and if you want to impress someone, make homemade chocolates. It's a cool thing. And the cool thing about it is, you know, you made it yourself, and you can put whatever you want in it, and it's just an impressive thing to do, and it's really not hard. So you really can do it at home. The first thing I'm going to do, though, I'm going to start the caramel. These are filled with caramel. So I'm going to start with the caramel because it's going to take a little while to get it going. So we're going to start with that. You have a recipe there. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of different kinds of recipes for caramel. It's basically just sugar that's been heated and melted to the point where if you're using a candy thermometer, it goes all the way up to hard. And beyond that, it starts to actually caramelize. It's starting to build carbon in the sugar because it's going to the point where it's going to burn. And there's a fine line between caramel and burnt. And burnt, if it's burnt, it's burnt. It's just that you got to throw the whole thing away. You cannot save it. So what you will have to do when it starts to develop color is you got to watch it. You really do. I'm just going to put water and sugar in this pot. And I'm going to turn it on. So I want it to start going while we're thinking about the chocolate. You can do it without the water. The water kind of just helps everything to get going. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of cream of tartar, and you could use a little bit of lemon juice or even vinegar. It's just about having a little bit of acid mixed with the sugar to try to keep it from crystallizing, because you want this nice smooth sauce. You don't want this crystallized mess that can happen when you're melting sugar. So I'm just going to mix this together. We're going to melt it. I'm just going to let it sit here. We don't really need to talk about it until it starts to melt, and then we'll start looking at the colors develop and everything like that. Okay, while that's happening, what I'm going to do is start working with chocolate. The thing about chocolate is, and there's different kinds of chocolate, I like to use bittersweet or semi-sweet at least, because it has more of the chocolate, the intense flavor. It has more of the flavonoids. It melts a little differently. It's like, for instance, white chocolate melts. You have to be very, very delicate with it or it'll seize up. And what I mean when I say seize up is when you're melting chocolate, you have to do it at very, very low, you're not even heating it, you're just barely warming it. It's like butter almost. And the only thing is, if you heat it too fast, it will seize up. And so you have to heat it very, very, very slowly, either over a water bath, or you can do it in a microwave oven, like for 30 or 45 seconds, and then stir it, and then put it back and stir it again. You have to do it very slowly, or else if it seizes, if it gets too hot, it will just turn into this gloppy mess and you can't use it. So I melted this very, very slowly, and it's been sitting and tempering, which means it's going to go back down to about 92 degrees, 94 degrees, somewhere just under body temperature. And you can tell that by actually touching it. If you feel it and it feels warm, then it needs to be a little bit cooler. And the reason you want it to do that after you melt it is because if you don't, it won't turn out shiny like these. It'll get this kind of a chalky look to it when they cool and you unmold them. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill this mold. This is just plastic mold. You don't want to spray it. It's gonna come out. You just want to make sure you have it. It can't be wet. That's the other thing. When you're making chocolate and melting it, you cannot get water in it. If you get water in it, it will also seize. With the caramel, really quickly, if you want to stand up and look at it, it's totally melted now. It's really going. It's got quite a ways to go. But you don't want to stir it. You don't want to do anything. You want to get it about a medium flame and just let it sit there and do it. And then in about 10 minutes, it's going to start to caramelize. And then that's when we have to really start paying attention to it. We're going to put the chocolate in. This is dry and clean. I'm just going to fill all the little places. It's like an ice tray almost, you know. And this chocolate is perfectly tempered. It's not really runny. You can see it's not far away from setting up solid. And that's what we want, and we know when we unmold this later, it's going to come out perfectly. Well, we're going to pop this in the refrigerator, and it'll take about 10 minutes for this first thing to happen. Okay, so we're going to knock this out. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to show you what would happen at this point. It's just barely over. And you could call this like a burnt caramel. You know, they have a burnt orange caramel. So let's call it that.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to add the cream to it, and it's going to bubble up. Come on, you guys see this. Okay. Now, it's going to start to turn into a big, ugly mess. It's not too far over, but it's really, okay. Now, I'm going to add some butter to it. I'm going to melt all this in together, and I'm going to add a little bit of flavor to it. You could use vanilla, but I'm using a little bit of orange one, just using this to get it out. And a tiny bit of brandy. So there's no vanilla in this one. It's just the brandy and the orange. Oh, and we need a little bit of salt. You really, really need the salt. It's just, the caramel is just not right without a little salt. So it's been in the refrigerator. It started to set. You could let it go just a little bit longer, but I just want you guys to get the idea of what we're doing here. I'm going to go in and just put just enough. I don't want it to come all the way to the very top. I want to have room for the chocolate to go over it. I'm going to fill all these. Okay, so you get the idea. You fill them like that. Then you go back with your chocolate and carefully coat it. And of course, you don't want to waste any of your chocolate. After you're done here, you save this, whatever's left, you use it for something else. You can remelt it again. You can remelt it a few times, as long as you're careful not to overheat it and don't get any water in it. You just crack it like an ice tray. You give it a twist. You want to make sure it has maybe 30 minutes in your refrigerator, or you could leave it out for a few hours on the counter until it's really ready to come out. Don't try if they're sticking, then it's not ready. Because when it's ready and the chocolate's really set up, it's going to come right out. So We have some candies for you guys. If there's no more questions, everybody have one. If you want to taste the caramel. If you're sauteing stuff and if you have to have a hot pan, you don't need a non-stick pan. You just need a little bit of grease and a hot pan. A little squirt of Pam or whatever.
Double dippers?
I'm not giving you a whole lot because it's still hot. It's really not bad, right? But we couldn't have waited even another second, I don't think.
Very good. Thank you, Evan.
You're welcome.